I think we have more trust in the people because we have to, right? There was no other chance. I mean, of course, people were good in like telling, yeah, sure, you can work from home, no worries. But for somehow reason, people didn't. And so all of a sudden, everyone was in home office. And guess what? It worked out, right?
Welcome to this space of conversations with Gamechangers.
These meaningful conversations with those who we have found are connected to their purpose from within, who are able to express that purpose in a really unique way, and through that are bringing transformation to the world in different ways.
We are interested in people who aim to change the game and create new narratives that open new possibilities for them and for all of us.
We are Purpose+Motion, and we support organizations to connect with their purpose and then get in motion, in action.
The potential we help them unlock allows them to stabilize through transitions, create healthier work environments, and scale their positive impact in the world.
Enjoy these conversations.
And please let us know what you think in the comments below.
In this series of interviews, we are meeting people from the process, which we've been, as Purpose+Motion, facilitating in collaboration with the Factory Berlin, in Berlin, called the Gamechangers Roundtable, where we explore with the factory's corporate partners what it takes to be game changers, so making the world fairer, more sustainable, meaningful place. And today, I'm really glad to present to you Stefanie Federico from Daimler Mobility. Stefanie, thanks for being with us. Or Steffi, right?
Yeah, Steffi. I prefer Steffi, to be honest. And thanks, Mike, for having me.
It's a great pleasure. And so, Steffi, I know you're working with leadership, you're working on cultural change, but maybe you could introduce a little more about what your work is and what you do at the moment.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think it's all throughout the whole, industry that especially automotive industry is facing a lot of transformation topics. And of course, during this whole Corona crisis, I think we've talked about crises a lot. And I don't want to mention Corona again and again and again, but it really worked as a catalyst for our organization, to be honest. And we're really now facing a lot of transformation needs and a lot of transformation topics. And therefore, we created a so-called transformation team in a global setting where we will work on different change management and transformation topics, such as focusing on communication, leadership skills, behavior, but also really focusing on the projects and to implement new tech stuff in the projects, for example, blockchain.
Fascinating. And what has, say, in the last couple of months or couple of years, for you really been your passion? What is it that interests you most about this work?
For me personally, I always look at the human, at the people who are in an organization, and I really love to work with people. I love to coach, especially our leadership team, and to work with them on new working techniques. I love to research for new methods and stuff like that. So I'm more the human part of our team, so to say. That's what I'm really passionate about. And I'm a super honest person. So I really appreciate to work with our leadership team, like open and honest. Yeah. And since I'm super impatient, change is my favorite topic.
Well, and it's a pretty important topic at the moment,
Exactly.
Change in many different ways. So what do you feel is the biggest challenge to change in organizations today?
I would love to answer that question in one sentence, to be honest, but it's super difficult since our organization is super diverse, reaching from operations to innovation departments. I think we have different transformation needs in the different departments, but what we really we have to digitalize our business. We really have to put the customer first. And of course, we have to have an answer to how we're gonna lead and manage people in the future, right? Because with this new generation Y coming up, they have totally different world views, working views than some of the leadership team we already have, right? So I read an interesting book about Generation Y versus baby boomer generation. And I think that's also a topic which we face.
So nearly this generational shift, you know, being a big issue.
Yeah.
And when you say putting the human at the center, what does that mean for you?
So we're always in a discussion, like we have these techies coming up. They say, okay, blockchain, we will revolutionize everything. And humans really do not count anymore. And yeah, so we only focus on tech. Then we have like other colleagues, they are coming more from this organizational structure side, saying, okay, we're not really focusing on the human, it's all about structure and system. And I can also partially agree to that. But on the other hand side, it's really people working in an organization. It really depends on how people act, how they behave, I don't really like the word mindset because it's super generic. And for me, it's always the outcome of something we do. And of course, when I talked to my dad, for example, when he was still working, he left his personal life behind and he was like my dad in his profession, being a professional. And now we go to work with like all we are, right? So there's no separation between private life and business life. So that's why I think the human centric or the human factor is even more interesting and even more important.
And in some ways, it's actually nearly gone the other direction. That work has come to our private lives, to our homes, right?
Exactly, yeah.
And it's sort of blown up that idea that there was this separation because, well, we're all sitting in our living rooms doing these calls and things.
Yeah,
so.
as you can see. Yeah, right. And I think that's also, that's where we really need to work with our leadership team as well right now. How to lead virtually, right? People, and how can we, even though we are all at home and now, as you said, work is coming to our homes, how can we still, I don't know, finish work off and be private? I think that's also a big challenge for some people.
And have you seen a shift in the way that people understand their work to life or private life, I guess, balance in this Corona times, or in the way that leadership sees themselves or others because, you know, they're all working from home? Or
I think we have more trust in the people because we have to, right? There was no other chance. I mean, of course, people were good in like telling, yeah, sure, you can work from home, no worries. But for somehow reason, people didn't because they want to show up like physically because, I don't know, they were used to, or it was, yeah, the people want to be there or want to be seen. And so all of a sudden, everyone was in home office. And guess what? It worked out, right? So I think I can just speak for myself. I'm even more productive in home office than in the office. Although I miss the personal contact, of course, to my colleagues and sometimes a big screen and a nice chair, to be honest.
The ergonometrics of Corona.
Yeah.
The seats and things are going to
be.
Yeah. And what I find interesting in what you're saying is that, you know, there's so many different perspectives on how change can happen. And as you're saying, this idea of mindset's only really been the outcomes of behavioral behavior and behavioral change. What do you feel it all boils down to, or what is it at the moment that you feel is the most relevant approach to behavioral change, to change in organizations?
If I would have that, I would write a book and sell it, to be honest.
Let's do it. We want to hear it.
Actually, I know this answer is super disappointing, but there's none. Yeah, sorry.
We're about to go viral, Steffi. We're about to go viral with this video, and now.
Yeah, sorry, I screwed it up. No, I think there are some methods which really work. So I guess you can have two possibilities, right? You can either try to change the people and their mindset and work on this, so to say, human soft skill topics, or you can work on really like the system topics, right? Changing the system. and making people feel if they really fit into the system anymore or not. So I think it's always, you're always in between those two. And what we really try to do is to make it really like tangible, to really give them methods where they can really try it out now, and where you can see a result very early. Because what we did, or other big companies as well, they, I don't know, exploded, whatever. We all wear sneakers now, meaning we're transformed into an organization. But does it really work? So we really try to make it tangible, make it transparent, and really start with small things or small habits. And of course, on the other side, work on the system, right? How does the system work?
Yeah, so it's really about having that dialogue between system structures and behaviors on that side.
Yeah, and also it's always a loop, right? So I really like the picture of the loop. Because that's why I really prefer the word transformation, not change. Because transformation for me implicits all this loop thing, right?
That there's also this iterative aspect to it.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, that can also be the tiring part, now that you always are continuing to come back. And this is
exactly.
What we always find most interesting, and also some of the most difficult work, is to look at how much of the behavioral is also not necessarily visible outside, but is also the inner sort of more emotional, more habitual, like you're saying, the unconscious even work there. And how do you support people to work on that aspect of?
I think that's super important, and I'm reading now The Fearless Organization from Amy Edmondson. I know it's an evergreen, but I really like this book because it's all about psychological safety. And I know this is another buzzword, but I think that's a super, super important one. And that's also true to work with people or our leadership team. You really need trust in each other, right? And as soon as you trust the other person, you can open up, right? And then you start to really work in this one-on-one coachings or whatever on these topics. And these are then the so-called, or I call it human topics, right? Which then come up. And then you're not talking about blockchain or whatever. Then you're talking about really like personal stuff.
Yeah, and blockchain can always, and the structures and systems can support that. They should. Yeah.
Then we're in this loop again, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is what we always find really fascinating, as you say, is that in a way, without that psychological safety and trust, then you can't have those conversations which require you to move. But it requires the right incentives, which are sort of systems or at least procedure level, the right incentives to be there for that trust to be held. If there isn't an incentive for trust, would it really hold? How have you seen trust built? That how does it work to build trust in for example, such a big company as Daimler?
I think it's all about the people. Then we're again in this human side. It's all about talking to people, being honest, sharing, or at least I can speak for myself how I do it. And I'm also teaching at the university, and it's all about building up relationships with people, talking, being open, being, I don't know, yourself, like who you are with all your vulnerability. And share, be open, sharing. That's how I discovered, and that's super true for my students. Then you build up trust, right? And then they slowly start opening up, and that's a process, right? It's not like you share one story and then, wow. It could happen if you have that connection. But usually it's, a lot of relationship work, which I enjoy. So for myself, it's not work.
What would be your advice to, say, a C-level team which is trying to build this sort of trust, trying to build enough also motivation to change, to adapt their company, be it a massive one or a smaller one? What is your recommendations or guidance to them?
I think be yourself as a team member. be yourself. And what I also like to work with in teams, or I also do that with my students, is to build up a map to see what kind of strength the one another has, what kind of weaknesses, what do the others like, what do I don't like, how to approach me in the best way. In my case, not before 8 a.m. please. I think that's one part, so that you know what kind of people you're around with. And that you know how you can interact with them. And then it's also, talk to them, work with them. Having success together, of course, always helps. So I think there's also no recipe, to be honest. It really depends on the team and how the people act and behave. But I really like to have this team strength set up and meeting, because I think it's super important. And also, of course, always a common purpose helps, right?
Yeah.
That's another buzzword, but I think that's super important. If you have the same purpose, you get up every morning, it somehow connects you with the others, right?
Absolutely. And so having that purpose, and then having also the knowledge of who's in your team and how you all work. That's absolutely key. What would you want to see in the industry you currently work in, say, in 10 years, if everything went in a way that you would love to see it, with all the transformation and change? How would the industry look in 10 years?
Now I'm big dreaming, since there are no limitations. I would love, first of all, to have the fuel cell everywhere. In every, 10 years, I don't know if that's really realistic. But since I'm super interested also in environment and stuff and sustainability, would love to have the fuel cell, or at least only electric driven cars. And I also hope that we will manage to change digitalization really successful, because we have a lot of topics. We're a super diverse company and super diverse industry, so there's a lot going on. And of course, I would still love the people to drive Mercedes cars. And I really wish that we have the human aspect more on, in the focus. And no more crises, but that's not realistic, to be honest.
It might be like a lot more crises.
Yeah.
But hopefully we'll be more adaptable.
Yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully. Great. Well, this has been really fascinating, bringing together these different aspects, and thank you so much for sharing with us your experience, your research, and really good luck with all the changes that you're going to need to be managing.
Thanks.
And let's look back in 10 years and see, how things have gone.
Yeah, it was super interesting. Thank you.
Thanks, Steffi.